very much, Larry. We're right? Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, Larry. And yes, I'm now an adjunct professor at the University of Tasmania, having retired. And as someone said earlier in the day, you've got to make sure at the end of it you've got to have fun. And this gives me a little bit more fun, having retired from some of the other stuff that universities tend to expect from you. But there are some key areas which I've been engaged in and which I'll be continuing to work on, and this is one of those. And I'd also like to acknowledge Associate Professor Irene Pennises from the Australian Maritime College, who's working with me in this endeavour. So as I said in the abstract, in 2015 I was in Perth at Seafood Directions when I spoke about moving offshore and about a transformational change in marine production thinking. And so what I'd like to do today is to say how we've progressed over those 2 years. So some of the drivers for why we actually believe that moving offshore is going to be an issue for us and something which will be a great challenge and will offer us a lot of opportunities is that the rest of the world is looking at it. If we look at the OECD report from 2030, they're talking about a profound transition in the way we use our oceans, and food and energy are two of the key components there. Now they look at the blue economy to double to US $3 trillion by 2030. And if we look at what Australia has, and some of the more noted reports there, the National Marine Science Plan, it talks about us being truly a marine nation. Now, we've got the third largest exclusive economic zone in the world. We've actually got a lot more marine salty stuff than we actually have land. And if you consider what we have where we can grow fish, we've got a lot more than we have where we can grow terrestrial agricultural products. The AIMS does an index of marine industry at regular intervals. Their last one estimated the value of the blue economy at $73.1 billion. And they said that the economic activity is expected to grow faster than terrestrial economic activity, and it's going to double in value over the next decade. So what is happening overseas? Well, there's this project, and I'm just going to recap on some of the information I gave to outline to you what some of these drivers are. So that was a €7 million European project. And what they're talking about there is floating platforms, offshore platforms, integrating across a range of sectors, of which renewable energy and food are just two of those. But they also talk about transportation, innovations in a leisure centre, accommodation at sea. We've even heard about cities at sea. So that was followed by another multi-million European project. And again, this common trend, massive development of marine infrastructures, incorporation of aquaculture for multiple purposes. And their latest project, which is under the EU Horizon 2020, is called Maribi, which is a marine investment in the blue economy. And again, it's all about intensifying, diversifying and expanding further offshore. And it's all about combining different activities at sea in the same location and the use of multi-purpose offshore platforms. And there's a Bremenhaven Declaration on the future of global open ocean aquaculture that was focused just on moving offshore and aquaculture, but it had some really positive and very sensible global recommendations in there. And that was in 2012, 2013, and again, they're talking about the reality of moving offshore. And if you look at the US, for instance, Jim McVeigh from NOAA, and I like his statement because it does two things. It talks about, firstly, it talks about the green revolution and the fact that we've got these, what they tend to call this blue revolution. And what he actually picks up, if you read some of his statements further, is that there are a lot of, while the green revolution produced a lot, it also had a lot of problems. And there are lessons we can learn when we actually start thinking about how we might want to go forward with a blue revolution. The other thing I like is he speaks about 70% of the planet being covered by waters. We know it's our largest surface area, so it's not surprising that the world is now looking to its largest surface area to address some of the challenges it has. And Kathy Sullivan from NOAA then, the thing I like about her statements was she talks about the opportunities. And it's not just the opportunities in that mariculture or aquaculture sector. but it's also about the seafood industry and job creation. It's about maintaining fisheries and resilient oceans. And in fact, last year, the United States government actually created a new rule which now enables their fishermen in the Gulf of Mexico to fish out to their exclusive economic zone and has opened that up for the production of sustainable seafood. So what have we actually done since that period in time? Well, we held a workshop in August last year. Whoops, that should be brought together people from academia, government and industry across three key sectors: food production, marine renewable energy and marine engineering. And we also brought together a group around governance because we recognise that moving offshore, there's going to be a whole lot of issues to do with governance. And we got them in a room, and there was two things that really struck me about this. Firstly was the fact that these groups hadn't actually spoken together previously, and there was a lot of interest and excitement about them, and they could see benefits. The aquaculture guys are saying, we don't want diesel out there at sea. You know, can you actually provide us with something where we don't actually need diesel? Because obviously diesel spill in fuel producing fish isn't a good thing. And they said, oh, but we also need fresh water. And we said, well, one of the byproducts of some of these marine renewable energies is fresh water. So they were pretty excited about that. The marine engineering people would say, well, you know, we're really focusing a lot of oil rigs and stuff like this, but this is another whole new opportunity for us as well. And so some of the... So we also put to them what's going to be the best way. What did they want to see coming out of this meeting? And we'd gone in there thinking, oh, you know, it might be a small grant, etc. And they said, no. We need someone where we can play together. We need to keep these conversations going. We need to be working with our people so we can talk to and keep working with the marine renewable people, the marine engineers, so they can work beside us to see how we can construct things into the future. So the workshop outcomes, we've produced those. We got them all to do a SWOT analysis where they saw the strengths, weaknesses. And so what they really wanted, they wanted a place to play, basically. They said, we need to get us all together. We need to keep together. We need a site where we can do the experimentation, the pilot scale development. We don't want to do it bits in our own little sectors. We need to bring ourselves together, and the only way they could see that go forward was through a CRC type model. And so that's what we've been working on, and we've called it the Blue Economy CRC to deliver innovation in seafood and renewable energy production for a marine nation. We're looking at the next round, round 20, to submit it in 2018, middle of 2018. So what are some of the key areas there? So this is really about combining forward-thinking industry partners with Australia's best researchers to deliver innovation in sustainable food and energy systems. We believe we can build on our geographic advantages of location within the world's cleanest waters. We get a lot of people, Chinese, visiting at IMAS and the University of Tasmania. The one core thing they always say to us is we want safe seafood. We want safe food in general. And of course, we're proximity to their markets. And as we saw earlier today, the fact is that those people in Asia in particular, the increase in the wealth in those areas, and people are going to want and demand high quality seafood. So we believe that moving offshore can deliver that step change in seafood production. That has the ability to see us become a major producer of high quality, sustainable and responsible marine production. But it's going to be a multidisciplinary collaborative centre. It needs to deliver innovation in offshore seafood and renewable energy systems, and they've got to be economically viable. Someone's got to make $1 out of at the end of the day, or else no one's going to be out there. They've got to be environmentally acceptable, and they've got to be socially acceptable, environmentally accredited. And so CRCs are for a 10-year period, and over that period, we're hoping that we're going to be able to create the knowledge, the technology and the future leaders to deliver a transformational change that will move seafood and marine renewable energy production from our coast to the open oceans. So essentially we're going to use the blue asset to create more energy, industry, exports, marine products, jobs, sustainable seafood. They all come together in a package. And we go do that through integrating across and forming industry, academic and government partnerships. No group or sector can do this alone. We need industry and their skills and knowledge, whether it be animal husbandry, working on the water, processing, innovation in renewable energies, design and construction methodologies. We need government to provide the appropriate legislation and regulations to ensure sustainable development and understand, for example, the trade-offs between sectors. And we need research across all the disciplines, from biology to economics, from engineering to social sciences. We also need to integrate across the different sectors. We need marine engineering solutions that will provide the platforms, the materials and the construction technologies for mariculture or marine aquaculture to operate in a harsh environment. It's going to be harsh out there. For renewable energy systems and for people to live at sea. We need integrated marine renewables, energy solutions that can power the needs of the mariculture sector out there, and also for living at sea. And we need to determine the most cost-effective and sustainable products that can be grown offshore and what engineering solutions that we will need for everything from the design of cages for the protection from the harsh environment and the harvesting of products. But in addition to integration, we need to be innovative, and we need to start innovating in areas about the types of mariculture systems that can ensure high quality. We need to build, and what I say, we need to back to our strengths. We're a nation that's very proud of high value, sustainable, high quality products, and we need to deliver those on media and try and look at how we can meet some of the ecosystem services, the sustainable development goals. And there could be a number of innovative mariculture operations. And one of the ones I'm personally interested in is floating artificial reefs. But there are other ones, and carbon sequestration, like Martin's spoken about, other opportunities that can occur by bringing people together. We need to innovate across the marine renewable energy sector so that they can provide clean and safe energy solutions for powering our operations and the systems. We're going to have people living out on these offshore platforms, and we need to ensure that there's the right power out there. Yep. We need to innovate in the materials and designs, as I've mentioned beforehand, and including the needs not just for us today, but also for future generations. So where this Blue Economy CRC, it sits at the, I don't know where that happened. No, I don't know. It sits at the centre of these three groups, but we see that there are key cross-cutting themes that we need to actually be looking at. The governance, management and policy area, everything from the regulations, biosecurity, you've heard them all before, economic development, the commercialisation, the liability insurance, safety and risk, education, training and outreach, as well as the new technologies, and we heard a little bit about that earlier today. Well, we heard a lot about some really fascinating stuff earlier today. So where to from here? Well, first of all, we need the finalisation of the CRC bid prospectus, and that's what we're working on now. I hoped I was going to actually be able to have some to hand out today, but unfortunately we're a little bit behind. And once we've got that, we'll be going back to the people we brought to the meeting. We then establish big consortium partners over October to December. They're the people who we'd like to come in and help us with developing the bid, who can see ways that they can massage it to the ways that they'd like to see this evolve. We then will submit a stage 1 CRC bid in January to July. We work on, and that's what those consortium partners will work with us to do. And then if we're successful, there we go to the stage 2. We'll have a web page and email, but please wait for mid-October. We don't want to actually put that up until we've got the prospectus, and we expect to have that by mid-October. So that's where I'll finish off. Thank you.